Uh-oh.
Welcome. You're listening to The Best of Investing on Talk 910, the show where we present valuable information about real estate, the financial markets, and other economic business of the day. I'm your host, Edward Brown, and I'm proud to have as my co-host Mark Hahn of Pacific Private Money, California's fastest-growing mortgage investment firm, and Kathryn Harris, CPA of Parati & Garad. Our phone number is 888-912-1190. Write that number down. 888-912-1190, because you're going to use that number to answer the trivia questions for 3 vacations given away during each commercial break. That's right, we're giving away 9 vacations during this show. The vacations are not sponsored by the radio station, but by a Lighthouse Resort and Marina located 1 hour northeast of San Francisco. The vacations are free. Their only request, a $75 cleaning fee to cover housekeeping expenses. Their website is lighthouseresortandmarina.com. They kind of changed it. It used to be lighthouseforfun.com. People couldn't figure that out, so it's lighthouseresortandmarina.com.
Oh, okay.
Okay, you can reach them at 916-777-5511. Today's trivia theme is old U.S. history. Now, quick correction from last week. Last week we had a Clint Eastwood question where I thought the answer was that he used a 357 Magnum in Dirty Harry. Turns out he used a 44 Magnum.
Oh.
And I got a correction from a listener on that. Thank you, Mr. Listener. Okay, our website is bestofinvesting.com. Check us out on Facebook and YouTube by typing Best of Investing Radio Show. By the way, that's the first time I ever made that mistake. I'm allowed
In
one.
4 years?
In 4 years. Well, 1 in 4 years, that's not too bad. Every 4 years, I'll make that mistake. Okay, we're also on television, Comcast Channel 26 and AT&T Channel 99, Saturdays at noon, Sundays at 6 p.m. Kathryn Harris, you have some interesting articles for us.
Well, every once in a while, I have to have a soapbox. I just have to stand on it, and I just got to take the opportunity. So today is the opportunity. You're welcome. It's planning for your future. It's a couple of things that you can do using pre-tax dollars, after-tax dollars that people need to do or think about. Planning for the next year, planning for your children, planning for your retirement. A couple things. And some of these things aren't going to be applicable to everybody. Some are going to be things that you have to have income limits. Others, because you may have higher income limits, you are limited in some areas.
Okay.
That you should actually think of these ones where you should actually maybe go to your CPA or go with your tax advisor or whoever you work with, maybe even to your HR and say, hey, what are some of these options that I have for that I could have in
Lay it
my
out
income?
for us.
Okay, here, I'm excited. So a couple pre-tax items is dependent care or a flexible savings account that you can have with your employer. You can use pre-tax dollars to pay for dependent care. I have 2 children, a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old. I swear half my check goes to rent and the other half goes to
Wait,
dependent
how
care.
come the 6-year-old doesn't take care of the 2-year-old?
I wish.
Okay.
She does for the 5 minutes I walk away,
Yeah,
but
okay.
I don't think
Not
I
all day.
legally can.
Yeah, that'd be a little tough.
I think I can wait till she's about 8. Then I
Yeah,
can, right?
that's right.
But you can use, and it's not just pre-tax income tax, it's pre-tax social and Medicare tax.
That's pretty major because that off the top is what, around 8% roughly?
Exactly. It's state tax, and so it's state, federal, and those 2 taxes. Same thing for flexible savings account. A flexible savings account is one where you can put pre-tax dollars, again, pre-income and pre-Medicare, Social Security, away to pay for out-of-pocket medical expenses. So this is when you go to the dentist or you go to the eye doctor for those. Even if you go to your normal doctor and you have a deductible or a copay and you don't pay through another means that's pre-tax, this is pre-tax.
Do these have to be set up by your employer? Are these part of your paycheck deductions?
No, this one is one where this is a paycheck deduction. So it's when
The
you have
flexible
to go
savings plan for dependent care.
and for dependent care. But
Okay.
these are ones where usually you don't have to have an income limit. So oftentimes where you get hit on your tax return when you come down like, well, why don't I get this deduction? Why don't I get? Often you do when you do your tax return have the capability of deducting dependent care costs, but there's an income limit threshold there. Generally speaking, there's not on the other end. So speak with your HR department.
Because you can't do you can't do that on your own.
You
Right?
can't
you
do
have
that.
to do it through your employer.
You do have to do that one through your employer, exactly.
Boy, Mark,
What if you are the employer? So
You darn better set that puppy up.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, Mark, it's so exciting. You and Lisa should start having more kids just for that by itself.
That horse has left the barn.
Okay, so then, and that's an FSA.
That's an FSA.
They
So
also, there's an MSA, right? There's an HSA.
there's an
too.
HSA. No, that, and I
Love
use the
HSA.
HSA,
Yep,
and
me
HSA
too.
is a fantastic one where it's a kind of a take on an FSA because it actually is tied to a health plan,
Okay.
and where you get to put pre-tax dollars. So the caveat with an FSA is one where you and you have to have some planning involved. You have to, one, your employer has to offer it. Two, at the beginning of the year is when you have to go to your employer and they give you the option to set it up and you decide how much you want to put away or save for that. If you don't use that money by the end of the year, you do lose it. But
Yeah, see, and then that's the thing. Now, see, an HSA just keeps growing like an IRA, but it's not pre-FICA.
it is pre-FICA. It's not for, in California, it's not, the state of California doesn't recognize HSA. I think it's pre-FICA, I thought, but maybe not.
I don't think so, but well, let's put it this way: me being self-employed, it's still it doesn't affect my Social Security tax on my tax return. The 1 year they did allow it, but I think they took that away. Yeah, boy.
Well,
Anyway, I got an HSA and it's great. I don't know if it's
Oh,
pre or post FICA, and quite frankly, I don't care right now. I just know I like it.
But yeah, but well, because you're building, you can use it for your medical expenses, and if you don't, it's just like a big IRA, and it's an above the line deduction.
Exactly, and there is a limit in it, but there's no limit that comes to there's no income limit that prohibits you from being pre-tax, at least for income tax purposes. The other one is the Roth IRA. Again, that one does have some income limits, but it's one that is, if people are looking for, if they have some extra cash on the other side, after-tax savings rather than pre-tax savings, a Roth IRA is a fantastic
Now,
vehicle.
okay, now here, this is me being a little pessimistic, is I've always thought,
Poop on the parade.
poop on the parade, yeah. My prediction, and I could be wrong, but my prediction is that if you have too much money in a Roth IRA, they may do this for regular IRAs too, but a Roth IRA, which is the after-tax, because you don't get a deduction for the Roth IRA,
But it grows tax-free.
but it grows tax-free, is that eventually when either you are going to collect on Social Security or somehow the government's going to look and they're going to see there's too much money in the Roth IRA and they want to get their hands on some of that.
When that number gets to 20 trillion, they're just going to go, that is just criminal.
We're going to change the
Yeah,
rules,
right.
just like they did with Social Security, right? And then now they've raised it to 67, I think, is the retirement age for the maximum, for the minimum of full benefits type of thing. And eventually that'll go to 70 and 120, and so nobody will get Social Security.
None of us can plan for the future or know that far into advance what the federal government's going to do when it comes to taxes.
True.
This is just one where I've had clients come to me and just say, I have extra cash.
Yeah,
That's after tax. What do I do?
Yeah.
And that is just an option. It's a great option, especially if you make less than, I think it's a little less than, I think it's 190, give or take, where you can put away Roth IRA.
So, Kathryn, I
Would
have.
you raise your hand?
Yes, I did.
Yes, he did, because he wants,
Like a good
he wants to
student.
speak next. Mark, I
School
choose
did
you.
start today, yes.
It's your turn.
School did, yep.
And
School started for my
do you have to
daughter
go to the
yesterday.
bathroom? Is that why you're raising? No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So, I have a daughter in college, and it's not an inexpensive one here in California. Is there a savings plan that I can participate in that would help defray the fact that, if I do nothing, I'm paying with after-tax dollars for tuition.
Does she work at all?
She does have a job, yes.
If she
or
works
study.
enough, she can almost, usually when they're in college, it's a little harder, just because at that point in time, the opportunity to accumulate a lot of pre-tax savings has kind of, you've missed the boat there. But depending on your income level and her income level and what she does for a living, who gets the credits, the college credits. You can get up to, I think, 2,000, maybe 2,500 in tax credits to offset the cost of tuition. That's not a whole lot, but it's something. I'll take.
Every little bit.
So it sounds like I should talk to my CPA.
You should talk to your
Always.
CPA. Yes.
Always.
Especially when you're not sure of something, especially if you're kind of on, you're kind of near a limit.
Yeah.
You're teeter-tottering on certain transactions.
Yeah, because you
or
can
certain
push income to the next year potentially. Okay, I tell you what, we're going to cut to a first commercial break here. Again, the theme is old U.S. history. Here's the question: which president drafted the Bill of Rights? And it was not Bill Clinton, just because his name is in there, okay? The first 3 callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. Which U.S. president drafted the Bill of Rights? Make sure to include your name and your email address. Speak slowly, please. Spell out your email one letter at a time. Excuse me. Spell out your, yes, when you give us your phone, let me try this again. When you call 888-912-1190, you're going to give us your email, spell it out, and say it slowly, please. Again, to answer this question, which president drafted the Bill of Rights? Don't touch that dial. The Best of Investing will be right back. Jeez. Even that's all, folks. Goodness gracious. See, what I do is on the sports show, I have people they don't call, they just email. So a little bit discombobulated.
Just email.
Guess who my guest is going to be on September 23rd?
Who?
Ronnie Lott.
Oh, really?
Fun, huh? I don't think he's coming in. I think he's on the phone. These guys.
How was that sports show? Because it's been, what, a couple months?
No. It's been since May. It's May of 2013.
Oh, good
It's
God.
doing well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a year. Wow.
Not like the Best of Investing.
That's right. We've got
That was when
massive
both of us had more hair. In 4 years. Holy smokes. Really? I mean, I look at some of those
Have you guys watched the first episode?
Well, we didn't start recording like this until 2011. But yeah,
Not
I
on
got to go
your
back.
laptop at all.
No, that's also when I started that. But I look at some of the pictures, like when we first did it, and gosh, old man, you look young. I should talk. No, but I look younger. Here it is. We have kids who went to college, and our other kids are growing up.
That's right, the gray hair effect.
I know. I know. I just looked at.
So we're calling it Arctic Blonde.
I'm the only one that never got old, and it'll be,
I like that.
videoing this will be 3 years, December 9th.
What will be?
Taking video of this will be 3 years in December 9th.
Wow.
I remember it was December.
December 9th.
Yeah, because the first one was with Michelle.
Remember that, that's my birthday. So I
Happy
expect
birthday.
balloons and stuff.
And his a week later.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right, we'll have a big time party.
That's right. Big time party. Okay, you ready?
Teddy Teddy.
And away we go. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hahn, president of Pacific Private Money, and Kathryn Harris, CPA of Parati & Karad. When we cut to the first commercial break, we asked this trivia question: which president drafted the Bill of Rights?
Taft. I always say Taft.
You always say Taft?
President question.
No, it's which
He
president?
did something, right?
Yeah, well, he weighed the most. He weighed over 300 pounds. And I
There
think
you
he threw out the first baseball. I think. You have to go back just a little further than that.
I don't
Is
know.
it Adams?
Just 2 presidents after him.
Really? You know the order of the presidents?
Well, yeah, you had Washington, Adams,
no, I don't
Jefferson,
know.
Madison, Monroe. I think
Keep on
Quincy
going.
Adams,
We pass
Martin Van Buren. Jackson. He's in there somewhere. And Pope.
Stonewall.
He's one of those guys nobody even know. Or Franklin Pierce. Didn't anyone even know he was a president?
No.
Okay. James Madison.
Okay.
He actually drafted it. Okay. Now, before we get back to you there, we've got another trivia question, special trivia question for next week. All right. And the winner is going to get. What's the winner going to get? The winner's going to get an overnight stay at the Sanctuary Beach Resort. So here is their little promotion here. Relax, rejuvenate, and unwind. Experience the tranquil ambiance of Sanctuary Beach Resort in the heart of Monterey Bay. To plan your getaway to Sanctuary Beach Resort, call 877-944-3863. That's 877-944-3863. Sanctuary Beach Resort, where nature converges with comfort and style. How about taking your honey there for the wintertime? It's very romantic in Monterey during the wintertime. And here is that special trivia question. What costs 8 times as much today as in the 1980s? Now, here are the rules. No previous winners on any of our contests. You need to email Edward@bestofinvesting.com the question by midnight tonight. And
The answer.
The answer, excuse me. Yeah, don't have to do the question. Do the answer. Thank
That's
you very
easy.
much.
Right.
And from the correct answers, next week we will announce the winner. So, Mark, let's get. Were you finished, Kathryn, or did you want to?
We can hop on that later on.
Until later on. Okay.
Absolutely. So I've got a article that should be of interest to people who are trying to get bank financing. There's a certain segment of the population that have been trying to get bank loans lately in this post-financial crash market, and that is that a little company called Fair Isaac came up with a credit scoring model called FICO. Well, they've changed their name now to FICO, so the company name is now no longer Fair Isaac, but credit giant FICO, and they just announced that they're making some changes to their scoring algorithm this fall. And what they've done is they're going to ignore certain types of collection accounts when the underlying debt has been paid off. And as you know, as time marches on after you've had what they call a derogatory, they tend to drop off. So they're going to accelerate that again for certain types of collection accounts, which they don't go into, but they do go into another certain type, and that is medical collection accounts. And I'll tell you that as a hard money loan broker, when I'm looking at credit scores and credit reports, I love it when the major items that are derogatory on a credit report are medical collections, because those, in my opinion, typically are great borrowers. And
So why is that?
well, look, it's not uncommon for someone whose credit otherwise is perfect to have credit collection issues, and it revolves around the fact that oftentimes people aren't properly insured when a major medical event happens, and it's not unusual for someone to be saddled with tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars of medical debt. And as those things age and as they don't pay them off, unfortunately, hospitals and other medical collection companies have this tendency of putting that on their collection report as a derogatory. And it's really the only leverage they have. Either you pay this, or we're going to report to the credit bureaus.
Yep.
And so they're going to give that lesser weight, which is good. So they're thinking that some people could see their scores go up as much as 25 points as a result of this new scoring model.
Well, how's that going to? But that actually, that's good. But for you though, as a lender who lends more for equity, you know what I'm thinking, right? It's the average borrower is good for them because when they go to the bank's going to go, oh, your credit score is fine, whereas ordinarily it would have been lower because of that. And
this is irrelevant to the private lending and the hard
Really?
lending model.
Okay.
Yeah, because again, we aren't score based as much as
No,
we are the
my
nature of the credit.
my point is that those people who ordinarily couldn't get a loan from the bank because their score was too low,
Yeah.
now their score is going to be higher and they will be able to get that bank loan. But for
Possibly, the banks may also just adjust for this, and what used to be the requirement to get a
Yes.
loan was a score of 720 or whatever it was. It's going to now be incrementally.
740 or something like
Exactly.
that. Well, that kind of defeats the purpose of having the change. Good news. People,
Right.
Yeah.
Now we've raised the score minimum from 680 to 700, which
Wow.
might happen. Although we talked
Interesting.
about last week how they're actually lowering the threshold for scores on certain types of products. In fact, Wells Fargo announced that they were now dropping from 720 to 700 for some of their popular loan products.
That's pretty major.
But as Kathryn pointed out, they do say that lenders actually do have multiple scoring models they can use. Not everyone uses FICO as their primary, so oftentimes you get like a tri-merge, so you get three different scores. They take the average of those three, or the middle score, for example. So the report does suggest that it's possible that they won't necessarily jump on the new credit scoring bandwagon right away. And what's interesting about this, and this is kind of comes back to the real estate side of things, which we of course talk about quite a bit on this show, and that is, well, if you're going to give a pass for people with unpaid medical bills because of a unexpected, non-recurring catastrophe, why would you not then consider giving that same treatment to people who suffered from a once-in-a-generation financial catastrophe and as a result had maybe a foreclosure or a short sale because of this unprecedented real estate and financial meltdown? So one could make an argument that, those of us who can't get bank loans because we haven't had 7 years haven't gone by since one or more foreclosures on real estate in investments that we had were still not considered
I'm
bank financing.
gonna-
Is that fair?
Well, I'm going to guess that what their attitude would be, you can't really control your health unless it's, of course, something. Let's say if you're 500 pounds. And
Can you control the real estate market dropping 50%?
No, you can only that's true. You can't control that. But what you can control is how you handle it financially. Maybe you know what I mean. Like either you over leverage yourself to begin with in purchasing, unwise.
Dude, you're supposed to back me up.
I'm sorry. I'm
problem
saying what the
your point is well
do.
taken. You're
Right?
absolutely
I'm not saying
true.
what I would do.
It is something that was right. It was a decision. It was a credit decision that was made. It the scoring models reflect that if you have a foreclosure, they use that as the scoring model is supposed to be a predictor of future behavior. So the argument is if you had foreclosures as a result of a major market correction, is that necessarily an accurate predictor of a future financial behavior that would impede my
No, that's a good point
creditworthiness?
because some you get in a car accident and suddenly your medical bill's $1 million and you just have no way of paying that off. That's completely out of your hands.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep, that's right.
Okay. Tell you what, can you hold that thought?
I can.
You can. Okay. And I thought when my FICO score was 92, that was good because that meant I had 92%, but that's not very good. Okay. All right. Here's our second commercial break. Again, the theme is old U.S. history. This is going back to Mark's time. In 1803, we see Kathryn.
Taft.
She's the
Taft.
I don't think Taft was born then. Okay, this is an easy one. In 1803, Thomas Jefferson paid $15 million for what? And it's not his earrings for his wife. The first three callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Called. See, you're smiling. You're shaking your head. Yes, you think you know the answer to this one.
What about like 4th grade?
Okay, well,
History.
Taft was pretty big, so maybe it was an overcoat for him that cost $15 million. Okay, call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. In 1803, Thomas Jefferson paid $15 million for what? All right, make sure to include your name and your email address. Speak slowly. Spell out your email one letter at a time. Don't touch that dial. The Best of Investing will be right back with some very interesting emails. Okay.
Nice.
Why is Taft your favorite, by the way?
You told me to bring it.
I know, it's so funny. I
It's
saw
an
him at the
inside
store
joke.
today. Actually, I told you to bring the paper towels, not the toilet paper.
Oh, the paper towels.
We saw it at the store today. He was
I
buying all
saw a
this paper.
cartoon somewhere where it was, election time cartoon. So, who are you voting for this year? And the old man goes, Taft. What do you mean Taft? Taft's not running. I always vote for Taft.
But did you ever see
Somehow I remember.
the old
And I remember every day. Taft.
the old Newlywed Game?
Yeah.
It was so funny. There was an old guy on there one time, and actually an old guy, an old couple, and you care to be hungry?
I don't know where that's been.
Oh, really? I only sneezed on it once.
Very
Oh,
good,
yeah.
Mark.
No, that's good. I like that. So this old couple happened to have been newlyweds. They were in their 60s, and it was, back in like 1978 or whatever this joke was on, right? And so the question came up for the husbands: who was president when your wife was born? And this guy was always like joking around, right? So he goes, "I'd say Abe Lincoln." He's a black guy, right? And so they come back on and they asked the wife now. They said, "Okay, who did your husband say was president when you were born?" She goes, "I think it was Hyman Hoover." She goes, "Well, your husband said." Everyone was laughing because they knew ahead of time. Well, your husband said Abe Lincoln. She goes, "Abe Lincoln!" She's wailing on him. It was so funny. All right, Mark, I'm going to let you answer this one.
The
question.
Well, I'm not sure I had the exact right answer, but
That's okay.
I know what it is.
You do?
Well, I don't know if it's the name.
That's okay. Okay. Well, hold on. Well, welcome back to.
Sorry.
Kathryn, you make me laugh. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hoff and Kathryn Harris, the comedian here. No, when we cut to the second commercial break, we
It's
asked.
impossible. I'm a CPA.
That's true. Yeah, no, CPAs can sometimes be funny. I know a couple of
There's
CPA
a few.
jokes. There are a few. Second trivia question. In 1803, Thomas Jefferson paid $15 million for what? Kathryn?
Well, I just joked and said the Eiffel Tower, but I know that's not true.
That's not true.
Is it Louisiana Purchase?
Yes,
Yes.
it was the Louisiana
Oh, that's
Purchase.
it.
Yes.
I
And
was- I
Eiffel
actually have
Tower
the name
was
right
given
too.
to us by phone.
Yeah.
That's
No.
it. It was
No,
given.
this is the Statue of Liberty. Oh my God, Statue of Liberty. Is that what you just said?
Oh,
That's right.
okay, there we go. The statue, you're
Yes.
right, in 1885, but
Yeah.
that's right, the Eiffel Tower. They didn't give it to us,
Not
it's
at
still
all.
in Paris.
Yes.
They took it back.
You know what, they should have given it to us after we saved their tushies in World War II. Okay, but that's for another show. Okay. I'm sorry, again, too much fun on this show. I think it's 'cause we're all tired, but maybe just you two are tired, right?
We're just losing our mind.
Just losing our minds. Okay, Mark, here's an email we received for you. Why do you sometimes have prepayment penalties on your loans?
Oh, good question. So at Pacific Private Money, we are in the business of originating loans for, well, it used to be only real estate investors, but actually we're doing consumer loans now too. So essentially, we are like the new subprime in the lending world, since the banks really aren't serving that niche product any longer. So we make loans that the banks don't make. That's essentially what the private money lending industry today exists to do. It's not like the hard money lending industry from 10 years ago or 15 years ago. It's really it's a new industry. It's a regulated industry, and again, it's there to basically pick up the slack, because the banks really are very stringent. There's a lot of loans they don't like to make these days. So, question being, on the loans that we make that are privately funded, sometimes they have prepayment penalties. And why is that? Well, it depends on the source of the funds that we use to make that loan. So at Pacific Private Money, we have two funding sources. One is our mortgage pool fund, and that our mortgage pool fund is a collection of, it's like a mutual fund of mortgage secured notes. The monies come from private individuals who want to make 8% or more on their money, and are not interested in investing in an individual note. They would rather be part of a pool and have the safety of diversification. So we've got close to $7 million in our fund as of this month. And so when we make loans using our mortgage pool fund, we don't have a prepayment penalty. So if we make a loan and you pay us back in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and some people do. Some people have a short-term need for money. For example, to close a real estate transaction where their bank all of a sudden told them, hey, we need another 2 weeks or 30 days, or we found a glitch in your credit or a lien that you got to pay off, or any number of 100 different scenarios where you might be ready to close a real estate transaction only to find out that your bank financing glitched. Now you need a private lender to come in, to step in. And we love short-term loans. We generally do them out of our fund, and there usually is no prepayment penalty. So because if the money comes back to our fund, we can turn around and let it back out again. And so we're okay with short-term loans there. Now, on the flip side, we also do individual notes where we have private parties who want to be the lender. They're they have a kind of a be the bank attitude, and they like to invest in individual notes privately. Their name is on the note. Now, those people generally don't want their money back either too soon, nor do they want the loan to be too long. So there's kind of a sweet spot. It's between like 6 months and 24 months. So between a half a year and 2 years is probably where 80% of private money loans are written, within that time period. And if you think about it, if you're a private individual and you're making a relatively scary, for some people, investment. Well, I'm going to invest in a note to a complete stranger, secured. Yes, it's secured by California real estate, but what if this guy stops payment? What if there's always what ifs and questions in their mind, even though they're highly secure investments for reasons we've gone into in many of our previous shows here. Even though they're relatively secure, there is that when you invest in an individual note, there's that risk that something might happen. So the attitude of people who generally fund those types of loans is, I will make this loan to you, Mr. Borrower, but you need to promise me that you're going to keep that loan for at least X number of months. And it's very typical, for example, for it to be like 6 months. 6 months kind of is about that timing that people will say, look, I'll make you a 12-month loan or a 24-month loan, but in addition to that, I want a prepayment penalty in the guise of a minimum interest guarantee. And in the Bay Area, 6 months seems to be a very common minimum interest guarantee. Now, that's actually come down a little bit. I do a lot of 4-month minimum interest loans because some of my real estate investor borrowers who are buying property to fix and flip, a lot of them have high hopes that they'll buy this property, fix it up in 2 or 3 weeks, put it on the market, and the first person to walk in the door is going to go, I'll pay all cash for it, close next week, and they think they're going to flip the property in
But
60
for
or 90 days.
Well, also for the consumer loans, though, you're not allowed to have prepayment penalties, are you?
True. Most consumer loans that we do nowadays also do not have prepayment penalties. That's part of the Dodd-Frank predatory lending reforms. So again, that's we could spend a whole show just talking about that. So the bottom line is there can be prepayment penalties, or also called a minimum interest guarantee, on a privately funded loan, also known as a hard money loan, depending on the source of the funds. So that's a question you want to ask if you're in the market for private financing because your bank turned you down, or maybe your credit's been dinged and you're not bank financeable. When you're talking to a private money lender, that's one of the questions you'll want to, of course, ask after. What are the rates?
Yeah.
What are your fees? And is there a prepayment penalty?
All right. And how do people get a hold of you?
So at Pacific Private Money, you can call us at 415-883-2150, or go to our website, pacificprivatemoney.com.
Thank you very much. Kathryn, the email we received for you is, should I represent myself to the IRS if I get audited, or do I need a CPA to represent me?
I would respond with, how confident are you in your return? And how much are you risking to lose?
I would answer, do not try this at home.
Yeah, exactly. He who acts as though an attorney has a fool for a client. I guess it's the same way with an
It would
accountant.
be the same. Yes. You need to. I feel like my mic's not on. There we go. Excuse me. It is kind of plain and simple. You don't want to. There is those gentlemen or women, individuals from the IRS who
Those
would be
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
They are human.
Those people.
You sure they're human? Okay, go ahead.
Exactly. Yeah. Our robots. They're
Yeah.
very mechanical. They do it day in and day out. They know the system. They know the rules. They know regulations. They know what they're talking about. Oftentimes, you don't know that. You do not know everything that they know, and you want somebody in your court to tell you what to say and what not to say. Often, my husband tells me to sometimes say less. I have a hard time saying doing that. And he's of course an attorney.
Of course, yeah.
Just stop.
Well, I remember when I used to represent people before the IRS, and the big question would come up, well, why can't I just do this myself? And I said, well, let me give you an example of the kind of thing that happens. It's like, you're discussing with the IRS auditor some kind of deduction, and he's disallowing it. And then your answer is, yeah, but I've been doing it that way for the last 10 years, and you didn't say anything. Oh, really?
Wow.
Well,
Let's just open up the next 3
Yeah,
years.
exactly. The last
audit.
2 years or more. So,
Yes.
and it's just very easy to do that. And I know what I'm doing, but yet I mentioned this earlier is that I did my return. I do my return myself, but there were a couple of times when I knew I was going to get audited, but it was worth it because the deduction was large enough. And so sure enough, when the IRS love letter came, dear Edward, first of all, we love you. Second of all, we're auditing
Thank you for filing. We
Yeah,
appreciate it.
exactly,
Thank you for what you've given us. But
I've never read that in one of my IRS letters, by the way.
we love you.
Well, usually they send me a form that just says how much did you make, and the next thing is send it in. But I sure enough, even though I could represent myself because I've represented other people, there's no way that I was going to represent myself.
Yeah.
Just because I'm too familiar with the source and my emotions are too involved because it's my money, and I would highly recommend also that
Well, and you're sitting down at a table with an agent and you're having a conversation, and again, they're paid to find and collect unpaid income.
Exactly.
So let's just say that it wouldn't be beneath them to have a casual conversation and try to be your friend and get you to tell them things that all of a sudden you see the audit report and you've admitted all kinds of things that you probably shouldn't have.
Well, it's the same thing when I remember hearing stories about how a business owner gets audited, and one of the items was he had his children on the payroll, and they did what they call a field audit, where the auditor actually came to the place of business. And sure enough, one of the kids was there. Hey, Dad, where's the bathroom? And let's see, makes a little note.
Oh,
So you
yes,
work
yes,
here,
yes.
but you don't know where the bathroom is. Stuff like that. So.
You will hear a lot of stories about as you said, Mark, the casual auditor. They will make great conversation with you, and not necessarily, especially if it's with a business. They will not just sit with you. You know who you're going to sit with? The receptionist. You're going to sit with the people who do the inventory, and I've heard horror stories where, once we're done doing this, are we going to go to the other office? What other office?
Yeah, good point.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
So you need to be careful. A lot of transactions in life, I've learned that the more that's at risk money wise, the more you need to protect yourself. That's why we talk about for real estate transactions, for your estate, we talk about having a will and trust. With your taxes, you can owe a lot of money, and penalties aren't nice. Penalties hurt.
Yeah. And what's really kind of fun is when you get a guy who gives you a business card, and it says that he's a special agent. Can you tell us what a special agent is?
Special.
Very special.
Yes.
Means criminal.
Yes.
It means he's got handcuffs and a gun, but he may not show that to you.
No, not unless you. But and people, I only need to have those. You think they're covered for the only last 2, 3 years, 4 years of for a possible IRS audit. But you can't claim foul and my bad only so many times before they start to say, you know what, no. How much of this could possibly be criminal, and we're going to open it up more.
That's a very
and
good point.
if it's criminal, they can open it up.
Forever. Yeah,
yes.
There is no statute of limitations for fraud. Kathryn, if people needed to hire you or your company to represent them at the IRS audit,
Please give me a call. Let's see if we can help you out. And it's look over the tax return and look over that love letter that you received. I work with Pride and Crod, and we are located in Larkspur. I can be reached at 415-461-8500, and give me a call. Let's look over.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to cut to our final commercial break. When we come back, I've got a really interesting article here talking about pensions and taxes, and it's something, audience, you're going to want to listen to because you're not going to believe it. Okay, here's the third and final commercial break trivia question. A tax on which good led to a rebellion in 1791? And it wasn't a tax on Taft either, or Taffy.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. The first 3 callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. A tax on which good led to a rebellion in 1791?
I love how they call it rebellion. You don't often hear that
that's
nowadays.
true. That's true. So what was the item that we were talking about? A tax on what? 1791. All right, don't touch that dial. The best of investing. We'll be right back.
If we started that with that article, at the beginning of the show, I think I would rant for an hour.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It drives me bonkers.
You don't like taxes. You like taxes, Kramer?
It's not it's the pensions.
Yeah.
I love them. I run at a loss all the time.
Wish I could
You
Kramer,
can
show
do
you
that.
how.
You want to be a partner? This is a great. This is a great business. Travel around to see your films across the country. It's all tax deductible.
In your
Everything is
business,
tax-
yeah.
Everything.
My
So
son
you
is,
get to deduct a lot of travel.
my son's
Oh, man,
studying for a
yeah.
CPA exam now.
Did he finish school? Yes, he did. Where was he starting? He started somewhere.
Edwards Life Science. He's been working there since July 7th. So it's been a month and a half. He really loves it.
Good for him.
Oh yeah, it's just a life that kid's got.
Yeah.
I want his life. He's got a sort of a new girlfriend who's really cute.
Sorta. How do you have a sorta?
Well,
I had a wife sorta. Once.
who was sort of pregnant one time.
Yeah.
A minor.
Yeah. Okay, so that's 20. That's 30.
Good luck to him.
Yeah. So this is.
It's a huge industry. I'm having a hard time finding employees for us. I'm having a hard time finding finance people for our clients.
Really?
Ridiculous.
Oh, by the way, Daniel Spurlock's insurance policy just came in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, hers is Caitlin's taking a little while because her doctor's Kaiser, and they take forever to send the forms back. But at least his came back perfect.
Good.
So.
Is there any other business I can think of you as while I make referrals? Or is that pretty much
I mean,
a good one?
but the insurance.
Yeah. He's like, well, hold on, let me.
I know.
Whoa!
What do you think about that? See, I can wash cars. And, no,
That's
but
it.
definitely, for
How many minutes?
investments. We only have 8 minutes and 7 seconds. Yep. Here we go. Well, welcome back to the Best of Investing. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host. Mark Hunt and Kathryn Harris are the co-hosts. When we cut to the final commercial break, we asked this trivia question on a tax on which good led to a rebellion in 1791.
Wine?
No.
Tea tax.
No.
No, what was
He
it?
was actually closer. Whiskey.
What was the tea tax one? Where's the one that had
The Boston Tea Party?
Yes.
That would have been before the revolution, I
Oh.
believe, right?
I was
It
so
wasn't a trick question, but anyway, that was that one. Okay, so here's this
whiskey.
whiskey. I
Of
know
course
the whiskey rebellion.
Okay.
I rebel every time I have whiskey, so anyway, that's why that come up. Okay, so I saw this article. This one happened to be in the Marin IJ, and it says here the caption is, basically voting no will send this message: fix the pensions. What they're talking about here is that taxpayers are facing an onslaught of a la carte tax increases. I love that, a la carte. Yeah, when I go to the restaurant, I order a la carte tax increases to pay for services and equipment that should have already been funded with existing tax revenue. So they talk about budgets for core services are being heavily impacted by a growing wave of unsustainable pension and other retirement benefit costs. We've talked about this for the last 4 years.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Yeah, it says here, it is past time to pull the plug on more taxes until there is meaningful pension reform. I totally agree with that. The county and many municipalities have been playing fast and loose with our tax dollars for years. This practice will continue unless something is done to stop it. Just consider the language in the draft resolution. It says, in the initial resolution, it implies that revenue could be used for things other than the radio system in this case, because that's what they were saying they needed to raise the money for. So, do you trust your government?
It's not that I don't trust my government. The problem is what the benefit that's being offered to government employees is one that has not been offered in the private industry for the last 30 years,
Yeah.
40 years. It's dying. The only people who have it in the private industry are unions, and they struggle with it, and they don't even have it that good. And what has happened to health insurance and that's forget the pension. I'm actually maybe even okay with the pension. It's the health insurance.
So after they retire, that
They
was
get
fantastic. Yeah.
full health insurance until they pass away, and mind you, they may even get some for their
Their
benefits
spouse?
and their spouses.
Wow.
Until they pass away.
I want to be part of Congress.
Maybe-
That's even better. Yeah.
Yes, I
Well,
actually did a
what, I see
speech about it.
Oh,
Yes,
really?
about because they say the Congress actually had a more phenomenal plan, but it is more of a myth. But still,
Really?
they have a lovely. How long do they have off during the summer? I love their summer recess. And they
I think it's
have
364 days. They're in for 1 day. Come on, they work hard for 1 day.
Feels like it, yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
Mark, you're looking at something there. What are you looking at?
Oh, it's that time of the month again for the real estate statistics.
We're men.
I
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
you know what they say? Men have to.
That's true.
Is that right?
Has something to do with their wives, right? It's just themselves.
It's usually the men that
Well,
cause
the word
lots of
menopause
things,
does
right?
have none of it.
Yes.
That's right. The men are the cause of the problem. That's right. I forgot about that.
Just the stats continue to come out. Excuse me, for how we're doing in 2014 in the real estate market, and in July, just under 40,000 homes sold in California, and that is down 10% from a year earlier. So, and when you look at the peak in 2005, July of 2005, we sold 75,000 homes in
Oh my
California.
God.
Now, the the reports that I've been reading for the last couple of years say that in order for us to have be back to a normal real estate market, we need to be selling about 60,000 units per month in California, and we have not been back to that number since 2007. So 40,000 units, again, it's not horrible, but it's still, it's 2/3 the number of what is considered a normal market. Now, I got this information from a source, First Tuesday, which tends to be rather bearish. And so, much like the stock market, which you have your bears and you got your bulls, in the real estate market, you've also got your bears and your bulls. So, First Tuesday, which is an educational support organization in California, tends to be, and has been for the past year, rather bearish. And they're the ones that are calling for being prepared for a 10 to 15% pullback in average California real estate prices in 2015. Now, they are definitely the minority, because the majority is still talking about gradual, a slowing down of the price increases that we've seen in real estate over the last 2 years,
Which makes
but still
sense.
increases.
That would make sense. Yeah.
And in fact, I shared this a couple weeks back, that there was a survey of over 100 economists, real estate experts, and investment and market strategists, asking them where they believed prices were heading over the next 5 years. And on average, they all saw prices increasing over the next 5 years. The difference was the range. It was from a low of right around 10% over 5 years, which when you think about it is actually not that much on a year-to-year
2%
basis,
a year,
all the way to 20% in that same period. So between 10 and 20% appreciation expectation.
Even that's only 4% a year,
right,
on a
not,
simple basis.
However, very conservative, and in fact, I would be thrilled to be living in a real estate market and seeing
slow increases,
5%, 4 to 6% average annual increases per year. That's a very healthy, sustainable price appreciation in real estate. It's great for investors because, of course, if you buy real estate and leverage, an annual appreciation of 5%, depending on your leverage, can actually boost significantly your growth. That doesn't mean you make 5% on your equity. Your equity growth actually grows exponentially as a result.
Even
of
if you're 50% loan to value, it grows at 10%.
Yeah, exactly. So in any event, the bears and the bulls are still in disagreement, as they are with stocks, and
where do the pigs come out?
I don't know. So stay tuned. 2014 is looking like it's going to be less unit sales wise than 2013, but then that's to be expected when we still have nearly 1 million homes in the state of California that are still underwater, and the owners still cannot sell them.
What, 20 years from now?
And you've got
with that 4% return every year.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
gonna take
All right, I want to thank my co-hosts, Mark Hoff and Kathryn Harris, for joining me again. Here's our thoughts for the day. When Twister was first introduced in 1966, I remember that, it was denounced by critics as, quote, sex in a box. Because it was like a little bit too topsy-turvy. Okay, and get this. You ready for this?
They had an interesting sex life.
Yes, yeah, really. And O.J. Simpson was originally cast to play the Terminator, but the studio was afraid that no one would buy him as a remorseless killer. Isn't that wild? All right, tune in next week to The Best of Investing. We're going to be giving away how many? 9 more free vacations for answering trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.
Did you wish me the best investing?
I'm a skedaddle.
Oh my God.